For over 1,300 days, the world has been sold a specific narrative. We were told that victory meant reclaiming every inch of land and that there would be no compromise. But in the last 5 hours, the entire geopolitical chessboard has been flipped upside down. While you were sleeping, a diplomatic earthquake occurred in Eastern Europe that the mainstream media is only just beginning to decode. Official channels are buzzing with a word that was previously banned, which is concession. Is this the beginning of peace, or is it the start of a massive geopolitical trap laid by the West? Why is this happening today of all days? And more importantly, what did the U.S. Secretary of State whisper to the Ukrainian leadership that changed everything overnight? Let's connect the dots. Reports coming in from Kyiv and Brussels this morning indicate that the Ukrainian leadership is preparing to present a formalized ceasefire proposal that does not demand an immediate return to the 1991 borders as a precondition for talks. This is a massive U-turn. Until yesterday, the stance was no talks until Russia leaves. Today, the stance is security guarantees first and borders second. According to a report released just hours ago by the Financial Times and corroborated by diplomatic sources in Geneva, a draft document is circulating among NATO allies. This document suggests a West Germany model for Ukraine. This means the West is looking to integrate the controlled parts of Ukraine into European security frameworks immediately, while implicitly accepting that the occupied territories might remain under Russian control for the foreseeable future, not legally, but purely physically. A briefing from the European Council earlier today hinted that European stability cannot wait for total military victory. The reason this is happening now is because the winter offensive has stalled. The updates from the Frontline in the last 12 hours show zero movement. The war has become a frozen conflict in the literal sense. If you think this is just about Ukraine running out of ammo, you are missing the bigger picture. We need to analyze the geopolitics behind the curtain. Look at the U.S. domestic situation. With the upcoming midterms, the current administration cannot afford a forever war that drains the treasury. The aid packages passed last week came with heavy conditions. The blank check era is officially over. The U.S. has likely signaled to Kyiv to cut a deal now while they still have leverage. On the other side, while Western sanctions hurt, Russia has pivoted to a war economy. However, reports from Bloomberg this morning suggest that inflation in Moscow has hit a critical breaking point. Putin needs a win just as much as Zelensky needs security. Both sides are staring at an economic abyss. We also cannot ignore Beijing. Just yesterday, Chinese diplomats were seen in Poland. China wants this war to end to stabilize trade routes like the Belt and Road Initiative, which have been disrupted. The timing of these peace proposals aligning at the Chinese Trade Summit is not a coincidence. Experts are calling this the Korean scenario. In 1953, the Korean War didn't technically end. They just stopped shooting and drew a line. That line exists today. The proposal being discussed today looks exactly like that, a heavily militarized border where the shooting stops but the hostility remains. Critics are arguing that by accepting this, the West is essentially rewarding aggression. If borders can be redrawn by force, what stops this from happening in Taiwan or the South China Sea? This sets a global precedent that might makes right. There is one final angle we must consider. Is this proposal a trap? Some analysts suggest that by offering peace, Ukraine is putting the ball in Putin's court. If Putin rejects this reasonable offer, he looks like the sole aggressor to the global south, including India, Brazil, and South Africa. This might be a diplomatic masterstroke to isolate Russia further before the next phase of the war. We saw a statement from the Kremlin spokesperson just an hour ago, stating they are analyzing the proposal. They didn't say no. That silence speaks volumes. The events of the last 5 hours have shifted the timeline of history. We have moved from total war to tentative talks. The world is tired, the economies are bleeding, and it seems that the decision makers have finally realized that a bad peace might be better than a